Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to the PAFA wire wrapping channel. It is morning where I am. I don't know where you are right now when you're viewing this, but happy day to you. I want to thank you all who are previous subscribers, and I would greatly appreciate anyone who hasn't subscribed to please do so, and hopefully hit a like for me. I want to apologize too to my subscribers who have been following me because I haven't been around for the last, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. I have been very busy with a program that I'm doing that's supposed to help my business, but I'll try to tell you about that later. Right now, let's get into it. I should have already shared at the beginning what this will end up looking like, but honestly, this is one of those times where I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here, but hopefully it'll turn out well. I'm using a tumbled stone. And I'm using 4 wires instead of 3 because typically if you're using a cabochon, you use 3 wires because they're about a 1/2 centimeter in width. And this one, well, I've got the inches on here, but this is about a 1/4 inch and it's thicker than a cabochon. So in order to make sure your stone is well secured, you want to have enough wires. So I'm going with 4. And I know I've done a tumbled stone before, but this one, I just want to make clear the importance of using an extra wire. And also, this is a rose quartz, and a lot of people really love rose quartz. I get a lot of requests for that. So if you don't have a cabochon, you can probably find some tumbled rose quartz stones, and you need to know how to make them. I'm going to do this with square wire. This is 20 gauge. It's 8 inches. So what we're going to do is, as usual, we're going to wrap the bottom in 1/2 round because this is square, and all my wire's dead soft, and I'll have everything in the description in the front of this video after I've finished my insanity here. So you basically just take your 1/2 round and you wrap it around very carefully so that when you wrap, that your base wires don't start crawling on top of each other, which they will want to do. So if that starts to happen, just kind of scrunch things down. And we want to get about 10 wraps. So right now I've got 4, 5. And now that I finished that side, I'm going to go the other way. And again, they're trying to crawl on top of each other. So I get to about 10. It doesn't matter if they're super close to each other, as long as they're tight when you wrap them, but not so tight that the wires are crawling on top of each other. So I've got... It helps me to count more easily if they're not so close to each other. 5, and that looks like 10 right there. So I can cut this. You cut both the ends, and I've got to get some new flush cutters. Maybe I shall order them after I'm off of this video. When you get some tools, make sure that you get really good ones. I went the cheaper route because I needed multiples for my classes, but okay. And then these are... They're not quite as tight as the other side, so I'm going to just undo them because I'm weird that way and just redo them to try to make sure they're nice and snug like the other ones. I think we still got one that's a little bit loose there. Okay. And just be careful when you're undoing 1/2 round or when you're doing 1/2 round, because 1/2 round, if you've never seen this before, is round on one side, flat on the other. If you can see this right here, inside here should be flat, and then the outside is round. Sorry about my horribly dry fingers. I can't believe how dry they still are, even though it's almost May. So because I tightened those, they actually got a little bit longer, so I'm going to cut this again. So yeah, if you notice, and it can be sometimes hard to tell, but if you notice that your wire is loose, it will probably get longer if you undo it and tighten it up. Okay, so now, because it's 8 inches, I want to make sure I'm going down to my board, which you can't see, but I'm going to make sure that it's at 4 right in the center. So the center of this is 4. I'm going to cut this and come right back. Okay, so what I did was I went to get this, what it is. It's for dotting, I think. Isn't it cool how that does it? I wanted to get something because this doesn't have a sharp point, so we're not going to do a sharp point. We're going to do a wraparound. And this is kind of the same size. It's a little bit smaller, but you can adjust. And I'm just going to, it makes it easier when you can wrap it around something like that. And then when I go back to this, hopefully it will sit nicely in there, or the other way, whichever way you want to do it. Actually, I think this fits a little bit better, so I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to take some of my handy dandy painter's tape, and I'm going to, and you want to, whenever you're doing a tumbled stone, this actually has a little indentation, almost like a worry stone. Whenever you're doing a tumbled stone, try to get the flattest side to be on the back, and that will make your life easier and much better for the person wearing it if it's on the back, because you want the flattest side to sit on your, on your chest. You don't want to have the pointy side, if there is one, on your chest. Okay, this tape is a little bit higher than I would have liked it to have been, but it is what it is. So then when you get one piece of tape, and stones are so slippery, you want to hold that down while you tape it, if you can. And there'll still be a gap probably. You just got to try to push it and adjust it and make it so that your wraps stay where you want them to be. And then you're going to be bringing this over. But again, because there's 4, you really have to make sure everybody's lined up. So this one's okay. This one, see, they're trying to get all, they're trying to walk over top of each other, much like people do sometimes. Okay, so you want it to be something like that. You want it to look nice. And I often, use the board to show you how to do it straight, but you can also do this in the air. It's good to have flat nose pliers, and just figure out if it's where you want it to be. And if you want to use a board or a grid, that will help you to be more accurate. So I'm going down behind here, and then I'm going to do the same thing here and try to get them to line up. This is the beautiful thing about square wire, is that it lines up much more nicely than round. And once you've gotten that lined up, you are going to, I think that looks pretty good. What do you think? Okay, you're going to take your half round, and you're going to do, like I usually put my fingers like this, and then making sure they're lined up, and then just wrapping it around. And I do it from a spool. I use these bobbins to put my wire on. It makes life so much easier than having to pull it directly, oops, I'm hitting the light here, but pull it directly off of the spool. So, and if this sticks out a bit, you might want to cut it. First I want to just make sure that we're still lined up, because they will always vex you. They will always try to crawl on top of each other. So just to check and see if I'm accurate here, I'm going to pull up my thing. I'm going to try and make it high enough so you can see my board. I just want to make sure that my wraps are about lined with the middle of that, and it looks like they are. That's actually the back. That's the front, so that's good. All right, so we're in good shape. So I am going to, let's see, where do we want the bail today? I think I'll go with the bail being in the back, as I often do. I tend to go toward the back, but you can do the bail anywhere you want, and it just gives it a different effect when you're bringing your other wires up or down or wherever they're going. So then, because you have 4 wires, you're going to have extra wires, I'll tell you that. So you have to be very creative and come up with ideas for those extra wires. Okay, so that's that. That looks like that. Make sure, especially when you have extra wires, that you have them all, let's see. So I think I have gotten, see, you have to be very careful that they haven't gotten out of position. And you always want to double check that because you will not believe how easy it is for that to happen. So you want to make sure this looks right. That looks right, but the other one, so you have to press it down flat to see where the other one is. All right, so that's a really important little lesson there, is to make sure you have all the correct wires before you get started. Because if you don't have the correct wires and you start wrapping, you're going to be really unhappy. So now that you've got that done, you're going to need more. So you're going to just take your finger and, as I heard someone say on another on another video, put your finger in there and roll it like a boss. I just want these down so they won't get in my way, but be cautious when you're moving that. And also, I would take your wire straightener so you don't have to worry that before you get started that your half round's going to get mucked up, because I can see it's already twisting here. And I want to make sure I have everything is lined up. You want to get right to the design, right? But if you start the design and you haven't prepared properly to make sure your wires are not going wonky on you, then you're not going to be happy with the result. So just keep that in mind, please. I'm trying to pull this so that I've got the kinks out, and now I'm going to go really slowly. And you want to keep it's hard when you're right near these wires. So pull as tightly as you can and keep, your fingers closer to the wires. And as you go, push it down. Okay, if there's a little bit of gap between your wraps, because you can just push them down. But if your wraps are loose, then you're going to encounter issues. So get up to a certain point, like I'm going to go here, and I'm going to just push them down. And when you do that, just kind of straighten this back because it's going to try to escape. Okay. And I'm just going to finish this up. This is how you do it so that you don't risk it getting wonky. And it's going to be most likely to be wonky in the very beginning, like you just saw with me. And if you wrap it too tightly, like I just did, then you may have trouble sliding your wraps down, and also if it's twisted. So make sure it's straight before you try to slide your wraps down. Any kind of twist will keep it from doing what you want it to do. And don't crush your wraps down until they're nice and tightly next to each other. So I'm not making sure this is not blurry for you. I apologize for that. All right, I think that's good. That might even be too much. We'll see. I may have gone too far. Take a few wraps off and then cut it. And always cut it to where it's going to go in the middle of the back 2 wires. Now you could have, with 4 wires, you could also do a weave of some sort and use 4 of the 8 wires. Technically you have 8 because you doubled them up here. So you could try to make a weave with 4 of them, and you'd still have plenty left over for any other thing. So now that I've gotten that done, I'm going to go ahead and take it off. You know, these are decisions as far as your what works best for you. Okay. So now that I've taken it off, I can even take the stone out, although I do want to check and see before I do that how that looks, if there are gaps, if it's centered, because it really should be centered before you try to bend anything, because that will affect everything if it's not looking good. Okay, I think that's good. And I'm going to bend the back first, making sure these are looking fairly lined up here. You do want to be sure that your wraps are still lined up about halfway with where the bail is, and the bail is here. So, yeah, I might want to move my wraps just slightly. All right, now this is the back. If I could find my tools under all this. Then I'm going to go down very close to, first you want to probably pull it out so that you don't scrape up all your wires, but you want to go pretty close to where the wraps are. You don't have to be right against them, but pretty close. And just move that in. And then you can pull it out a little bit because it's a thick stone. And you want it to sit properly. And then with any luck, that'll sort of snap in there in a way. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And we want to do this before we start wrapping. You don't want to have a lot of difficulty getting these little connections here. Well, it's not a connection, but it's a safety guard, I guess you call it. And that is sticking out that little sharp point a little bit, but we will worry about that later. And once it sticks me, then I will really want to take care of it. And if you see a gap, you know, try to close up the gap the best you can. It's not always easy. And make sure that's settled in there nicely. And then you've got your two wires you can sort of spread out on the sides. And I'm going to go ahead and close this up now. Now, what are we going to do? One of the things I like to do, especially with the rose gold, is use some, you know what, I think I put this in the wrong, I think this should go in the back. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just take this round and cut it again because the end should really go in the back. Okay. And then just make sure that's tight. Okay, once you've done this, we're going to just bend this slightly forward, take your finger, and it's really not that difficult. You don't necessarily need a bail making tool or anything just to get that like that. So then you might want to raise your wires up a bit, get them out of the way. We want to try to get the bail in to where these meet in the back, the wraps meet. Okay. And then bring these around. Uh-oh. When I did that, I felt things start to shift. Okay, so then when you've got it nice and tight, make sure that also when you are getting ready to press these down and snip them off, that your wires are not crisscrossed going forward, that they are lined up. And cut this first one off. We may just cut the other one in the front. We'll see. Okay, so that's pressed down in there. You can see that. Now, this one. So we know that we're nice and tight here. And this could get in the way. This is a trick I learned, I think from Oksana Crafts, that if you are nice and secure on one side, you can afford to just snip that on the front, and it's going to be hidden by all these lovely wires, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, then the trick is, like I think you saw me doing, is making sure that these guys are lined up. And what have I done? So these should be lined up. They're just, yeah, okay. I didn't do what I was afraid I just did there because I'm like, oh my God, don't tell me they're twisted. So they weren't twisted, but they were trying to be. So we're going to go ahead and move some of these guys out of the way. I want to get some beads to go on here. So let me just check that and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So I've pulled a variety of these 8/0 check seed beads. They're just Purple Passion is what it's called. And I've got some faceted 3mm, I don't know if these are going to fit, glass crystal things. And I've got some silver that are like 3 and 4mm. So I'm just taking a variety because I just want to experiment. And this is the fun, hopefully, and not the frustration of wire wrapping. It's like you design something yourself and you just go with the flow. Hopefully you figure out where you want your wires to go. And I seriously don't have any idea what I'm planning here. But I do like the idea of beads, and I'm going to try. And sometimes it's easier, I find, if you're using, I'm going to try to do multiple beads on one of these if they fit. That's the other thing. You have to make sure that whatever you're using, that the hole is going to fit through on your wire. This is 20 gauge wire, and I'm lucky. Now see, these beads are a little bit different. The darker pink, I don't want that one. And you just want to make sure your beads are going to fit on your wire, because if you've got beads and they don't fit on your wire, there's no point to having them. And I can't keep this. Let's see if that one works. Okay, that's the same. How many should I do? Huh? I'm guessing maybe 5. I don't know if I can get the right ones on here. 5 seems like a good number, right? Let's try that. I find that odd numbers, I don't know why, seem to be more aesthetically pleasing sometimes. Don't ask me, that's just my opinion. So I'm just going to pull this around. And as I pull it around, you will see that that little bit there in the front can be blocked. But then again, I may, you know, I don't want to take a chance of having these beads look weird. So I think I'm going to take one of the farther back wires, and I'm going to just do like a wrap around and gently try to push this so that I don't scratch it up. But just kind of do a little swirl wrap around to try to hide the ugliness. So I just lost one of my beads. And this, oh, perfect length. Okay, so that went around 3 times. And I just want to make sure that's even. And I'm just going to tie that off in the back. Okay, so that, and you want that to kind of go up a little bit, tuck under there. I lost another bead. Okay. And put my beads back on. Okay, so now I've got this kind of like little swirl. And then I'm going to take my beads, and I think I will take them a bit lower now. And again, this is, I'm winging it here. So I think I might actually do, I think I might actually do a couple more of those beads, because I want it to get full coverage. See if I have them in the tray here. Okay, so now I've got 7 of these seed beads, and I think that's about right. And I'm going to, now you're going to have gaps. If you're going to bend it a little bit, you're going to have a little bit of a gap, but try not to have too much. And then just try to get it even, and just snip that one off. And tuck that under. Okay. Preferably upward so that you don't see it. And so far we've got this. And boy, look at all these extra wires. So I think with this one that's in the back, I'm going to do something like up on the bail with that maybe. I'm going to bring, I think I'm going to bring, let's see, I'm going to twist this one. So that's the beauty of square wire, is you can twist your wire and give it a nice little reflective look about it. So I'm gonna, and if you twist it like from here and you don't quite get down there, just make sure you do grab it like that and do it in the same direction. Whoops, yeah. I went the wrong direction. Okay, so that you can make it sort of an even looking twist. And then, and it does get harder to form, to shape it once you've twisted it, just so you know that. So be gentle with your shaping and try to soften any, like there you can see that's the sharp bend there. You don't want that. Try to sharpen any soft, sharp bends. And so I'm just going to bring that, now you gotta hold on to it as you go a little bit. I didn't quite soften that enough. For my liking. So you want to hold on to it there when you go, because you want it to be, you want it to not go that way. Okay, let's see. Still, I'm not happy with this. I don't know why. I'm just not. The shape. I'm going to take that one, and again, you want to make sure it's tight and it looks the way you want it to look in front before you snip it and tighten it. So this is how I want it to look. I'm starting to build up a pile of wires back here on this one side. So I may have to do something going the other direction with the others. Okay, so that's nice and snug up in there. Now, we've got this, and if it pulled out too much, just bend it back. I may have tightened it a little bit much. So basically it sort of looks like an outline. And you could do the same with this as well. But, well, I'm just going to have to do it. And sometimes what you can do is sort of cheat a little bit when you realize you've got no more room to tuck wires in the back. We're going to try to figure out if we can go to the other side, just because the length is long enough to make it possible. So when you pull those wires, also pull them from the end, because that will keep you from scratching up your wires at the tops. Okay. And sometimes it's, you do have to do a little bit of pushing with the pliers. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate and talk at the same time. I can't talk and chew gum and all that. And just try to guide it, hold it down and guide it like that. You want to have enough separation that you can make out the different layers here. So just make sure you got that before you tighten. Okay. So because I have so many wires on this side, I'm just going to bring this in, because this is long enough. I'm going to bring it around to here, and I'm going to cut it not a little bit longer than you would think, because I'm going to turn it and tuck it under there. And that can be a challenge. I probably should have made it longer. Because reaching under there when you tuck it, that's a little bit more difficult. So just make sure when you're tucking it that it's going to come out to where you can reach it to pull it around. Okay, now go back and double check before you ruin everything. And just try to, not real happy with the gap there, and just try to make sure you got a little differentiation there before you tighten it all up completely. So you just want to tuck that over once so that that's secure. Okay, got that. And then I'm going to put, I think I'm going to put a another bead, or maybe some of these purple beads, or maybe a silver bead. I don't know. But have options is all I can say. Have options. So I'm going to put this silver bead so that we can kind of have a center there. If I had bigger ones, I'd put a bigger one there, I think, but I don't. Although I do have that pink one, but I sort of want silver. So I think I'm going to just make this a little bit of a tighter circle. And then that can make it, oh good, it worked. That can make it more difficult to get your bead to go back if you've gotten it out of where it should be. And then I think I'm just going to go up underneath and bring it around. Okay, looks okay to me. Now you could bring it around for security and tie it there, but I think I'm just going to tuck it in because I don't think it's going anywhere. So I'm going to, but just in case, make sure it's flush in case it did pop out, which hopefully it will not. See if there's anywhere. Just for security's sake, I could, see, you think as you go, I could just attach it to this one wire here. Hopefully it won't be too obvious. And then snip it because that way it's not coming out. But hold on tight when you do this, because it's going to take a little bit of maneuvering. You know, this video is all about your creativity, so don't feel like this is a blueprint for this particular design. You make your own design. You can get started with what I showed you, but I think you should make your own. Find out, you know, this way, find out what beads you have on hand. Make sure they fit your wires. And if you want to do that, you know, have the beads. Okay, so just press that down enough and press it in enough so that it's, you know, not going to cause a problem. And if this sticks up too much, you can try to press it down. I might just cut it off and just, I don't know if that looks like bad or something, but maybe I'll just leave it. So after doing that, the final thing I want to do, just to give you an idea of all the things you can do. It might be too much, but I'm going to just show you what you can do if you've just got this like extra wire and you don't want to waste it and you want to do something creative with it. Just bring it around, and I would straighten it if you've bent it up, bringing it around. And then you could, I would make a little curly Q, and you can use your round nose pliers to help with that too. To make yourself a swirl here if you want to. You don't have to. And I probably bent it the wrong way. Just to make some extra swirls. And then I'm bringing this one back because I'm going to, I hope, again, this was unplanned, so we'll see how it turns out. But that is what I like about wire wrapping, is experimenting. See how it turns out. So now that I've done that, you don't want this flopping around. I'm actually going to kind of gently hold this as I bend this, because I think I'm going to put it through the bail and just tie it off that way. Not really tie it off. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll tie it off. So bring it through. Oops, and try not to scratch up your wire like I just did. And so I'm contemplating if I'm going to try to make one more curl up on the bail with this, or I'm going to cut it off in the back because it doesn't look right the way it is. But let me just see, because if I can do that. Okay, so then I would cut it off with the flush side out and just turn it in, because with the flush side out, that'll keep it more, oops, yeah, I'm gonna have to buff this up a bit because I did scratch it. Now you can do that or not. And if you do it, just make sure it's pressed close against there. And it's not really going anywhere. You can tie it down or not. I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. So I might make it slightly smaller just to be sure it's secure. And maybe I'll even cut off some of that stuff I scratched. Okay. It's going to be real small. Okay. All right. So that is the insanity. And let's see if it's still, make sure that's still centered. Okay. We've got that still. Now you're going to have a little spot here where there's a gap, and the only thing I would say is try to push that down a bit, because you're just going to have a gap because it's the stone, as you saw in the beginning, is not even. So you just want to try to get that close. Make sure you've got these separated enough on the sides that they are holding in your stone. I mean, should be held in regardless, but just to be safe, make sure this is pulled up kind of evenly on both sides. And that's it. There we go. Hope you liked it. Hope it made sense. Apologies for not getting this out sooner. I had some iMovie issues among other things, but I will try to do better next time. I'd love to hear your comments or answer questions if you have any, and please like and subscribe. Thanks very much. Have a great day.